Hey, buddy, watch this.
Let's talk about cards, guys. And again, I want your insights. So Shirvallah, the Tiger, for Paladin, 25 mana card. Can I open this up in a bigger? Maybe not. We'll just look at Shirvallah. Shirvallah the Tiger, 25 mana, Paladin Legendary, a 7/5 beast. It has Divine Shield, Rush, and Lifesteal, and it costs 1 less for each mana you've spent on spells. So clearly, if you get this thing down to, 4 or 5 mana, it's going to feel like a good play. If you get it down to 0 mana, it's going to feel like a fantastic play. You're going to be, super excited. But then the challenge becomes how easy is this thing to get down to 0 mana? And in my mind, it doesn't seem that easy. So that's 25 mana in spells, even 20 to get it to a feel-good spot. That's going to happen organically throughout the course of a game, right? Like if you build your deck with, medium cost spells and 4 or 5, 6 mana spells, yeah, you're going to get it there eventually. But is it impactful enough as a top deck in the late game once it's been reduced that, it's game-changing, or it suggests you should build your deck in a way with so many spells to support it? I'm not sure. And then, for an on-curve play, it's never going to happen, right? It's not going to be something you play on turn 6. Even, turn 8 or 9 are going to be really challenging. I did the math right. You have 1 mana, 2 mana, 3 mana, 4 mana. You start to add that up. And the break point there to get it at a reasonable cost is probably turn 5 or 6 if you're spending every mana on spells. But that's not something you're always going to be wanting to do. So it's something that's going to have to hit in the later game. Now, when you play it, it's going to feel good, right? It's like a super Zilliax. It's got all the stuff that makes Zilliax good. But and 7 attack is a huge heal. So maybe there is some heal Paladin build that makes this thing work in a sensible way. Obviously, a lot of the healing stuff for Paladin's also spells. Just a couple lay on hands, and suddenly you're like, boom. I have a really cheap card that, well, not really cheap, but a playable card and a few other accessory spells here and there, and it's like, oh, great. It's suddenly okay. So I'm not giving up hope on it. We're gonna have a special guest for 2 seconds, guys. Look closely. Oh, maybe it's gone. You might have missed it. Oh, she ducked. No. We had the Natastical behind us, the wife of Kibler, sneaking into the stream there. I was really pumped. Anyway, I think it's playable. I think it's got some potential. I think it's kind of cool. Prismatic Lens. Ooh, you're right. That's a neat idea. Yeah. There are some tricky ways to make this thing good. So now let's move on to Sul'Thraze for Warrior, a 6 mana 4/4 weapon. And this introduces a new keyword, Overkill, which means if you do more damage than necessary when killing a minion, then you get to attack again. So this has 4 attacks. So for instance, if you kill something with 3 health, that would be an overkill of 1 damage, and you get to utilize your Sul'Thraze again. And that's intriguing. We've seen some cards like that in the past that enabled Warrior to attack minions multiple times in a row, and I don't think they were super duper successful necessarily, but I'm kind of looking at this card as an aggro card almost. What if you just play this as a super Arcanite Reaper style card, right? It's only 1 damage less and 1 mana more than an Arcanite Reaper, but you get 4 attacks regardless of attacking minions. This is just a big pile of damage too. So I think there's some ideas here. I agree with Xenon in chat that 6 mana is maybe a little expensive for this. Maybe at 5 mana it would feel really, really juicy. At 6 mana, I'm not sure who's going to run it. Is this ever better than Super Collider or Gore Howl if you're looking to utilize it in a more of a control shell, right? I don't think it is. Gore Howl's better for taller boards. Super Collider's better for wider boards, arguably, because their health doesn't matter as much with Sul'Thraze. So maybe this isn't more of a mid-range aggressive warrior deck or just a full-on aggro deck. I'm not really sure. It'd be great with upgrade. That might be true. Somebody asked how they can participate in the giveaway. We're going to do the headset giveaway in about 12 or 13 minutes, guys. At 4:30. It's currently 4:17, I think, my time. It's going to be simple. Don't worry. You're just going to have to enter a command in chat, and that'll enter you, and then we'll do the drawing live. So don't fret. We'll take care of it. Speaking of which, I might need to update my stream title. I'm trying to think about what it says. Sorry, guys. Everything is happening on the fly. Here we go. I'll update that. So now it says soon. So let's see. Good with pirates? Yeah, maybe. Weapon pirate build. That's certainly a possibility. A lot of chat saying it's too slow. Doesn't fit an odd warrior. All good notes. Yeah. A lot of things. A lot of ways to break that down. So up next we have the Sharkfin Fan, and this card, I think this is sneaky good, right? I haven't seen the reactions to this yet, but a 2-mana 2/2, it's a pirate, and also after your hero attacks, you summon another pirate. It's got that Patches vibe where you're just getting some free 1/1s in play, and I think that's promising. There are classes that, you know, we've already seen this effect with Hinge Clan Thug and Rogue. After hero attacks, that's very powerful. Rogue, of course, has the weapon built into the hero power, so very easy for them to attack. But even Warrior Pirates, too, has been a thing in the past, and Warriors typically don't have a lot of trouble attacking. And even in wild format, and particularly this thing could be nuts with Pirate Warrior, I would guess. So if there's enough pirate support, I think this card looks like it has a lot of promise. Because if you don't contest it early, it's one of those things, if you think about, like, I'm blanking on the name, even though I see it every day, the Murloc Totem for Shaman, the 0/3 that summons a Murloc at the end of the turn, how those 1/1s can just snowball out of control. Sharkfin Fan kind of feels the same way, so I think you should keep your eye on this card. And then after that, we have Spirit of the Shark for Rogue. This is one of the new Spirit cards. They're all 0/3s. They all have stealth for 1 turn, and then they do something which I guess synergizes with the Loa or the champion of the X pack. And in this case, it's 4 mana, and it reads, your minions' battle cries and combos trigger twice. It's interesting this specifies minions, so any sort of weapon battle cry or weapon combo would not work here. This is only minions. But I haven't thought about all the possibilities, but clearly this is one of those cards that does something unique and powerful, and I always think, keep an eye on these sorts of cards. Like, yes, there's a pretty high penalty to pay at 4 mana, but if you're getting more than 4 mana value out of your double combo or double battle cry, it's worth it. And this could be something you do in the late game with spare mana, and you could set it up for a future turn. So, you know, you might have 10 mana to work with for double combos. And that, to me, leads to opportunity. I don't know what that opportunity is yet. I don't know if it's Edwin exactly right, but just some kind of weird combo thing, and not combo in the sense of Rogue, but combo in the sense of I'm doing a ton of damage to you, or I'm setting up some insane board state, or whatever it is. Some wild, crazy thing's going to happen because of Spirit of the Shark. Lets you play more spiders, double tests. Yes, exactly. Examples like that. So, you know, this is certainly not an everyday Rogue card that every deck's going to play, but I think that there will be some variation of Rogue that likes this or finds a reason to play it. JSTT says, note, it's the most expensive one of the Spirit cards. Did they say that somewhere? I didn't hear that, but did Tim say that? We asked Tim. I feel like I didn't hear that specified, but if so, that's interesting to know. So moving on, we have Spirit of the Bat, Warlock minion. Really cool artwork. It says, I hear Kibler exclaiming. This is exciting. I feel like I'm next to royalty over here, Hearthstone royalty. Spirit of the Bat, a 2-mana 0/3. Oh, this is Spirit 2. Oh, yes, of course. I actually barely processed when I saw this the first time. Also stealth for 1 turn, as all spirits do. And this one reads, after a friendly minion dies, give a minion in your hand +1/+1. So it's a hand buff card for Warlock, which previously we hadn't seen much, you know, but we did get the spell recently. My brain is fried, guys, but give the leftmost minion in your hand +2/+2. I'm sorry, I can't think of names right now. But, and we had Void Analyst as well, which gave demons in your hand +1/+1. Soul Infusion, thank you. My goodness. It's been a long day already, guys. Please forgive me. I know these cards, as you know, but it's been a long day. A very busy, brain-expiring day. So, Spirit of the Bat, you know, hand buff has not historically had a lot of success, right? We saw it in Paladin in the past. Didn't feel great. Soul Infusion is a little bit better hand buff, I think, because it's targeted in a way. Like, you can control it, and that's cool if you get it on charge minions, if you give it on your Serenite Chain Gangs. You're doubling imps, so that feels really good. So that aspect of it always made it better. Spirit of the Bat, not controlled, it's just universal, but it also has conditions, which, you know, you have to kill minions. But because of that stealth for 1 turn, it may not be too hard for minions to die. Because, you know, if you play this outside, you know, 4 or 5 minions, your opponent's going to have to remove those minions. You get +4/+4. If it goes back into the next turn, you might have a harder time killing your own things if there's nothing to trade into, for instance. But I think this will hit for a few points of buffs when it's played fairly consistently if you have a minion-based early deck. It is true that this won't work very well with Keleseth, as JSTT brings up, because right now Keleseth might be more impactful to a zoo-style than Spirit of the Bat, but Kel'Thuzad won't be around forever. And that means I think you can hit 2-3 buffs on this, which, you know, that's better than Kel'Thuzad in some cases, right? And it's not, you know, it's not every minion in your deck, but it's minions in your hand, and depending on how many of those you have, that can be a lot of stats piling up. Now, interestingly for Spirit of the Bat, we have the next card, which is Hir'eek the Bat. This is the Loa for Warlock. It's an 8-mana 1/1 beast, and it reads, Battlecry, fill your board with copies of this minion. So if you hit this guy with your Spirit of the Bat, and you give it +4/+4, suddenly that's an 8-mana 5/5 7 times, or 35/35 in stats. And I think people are sleeping on this. I see chat already kind of trashing this card a little bit, and some of the people I talked to when this was revealed didn't necessarily love it either. But I don't know. I think that sort of a board play is sometimes very difficult for a lot of decks to deal with. It's a counter pressure sort of card. And I feel like lately in Hearthstone, more and more counter pressure is winning games. In other words, what I mean by counter pressure is like your opponent does a bunch of things, and then you kind of just ignore their things, and you just like play a big set of stuff, and they can't really deal with your big set of stuff, and then you just kill them the next turn. And even cards like the Spellstone for Hunter, I feel like capture this, where it's like it almost doesn't even matter what happens the first few turns of the game. If you have that turn 5 Spellstone that summons 4 3/3s, often your opponent's just like, okay, gosh, I cannot deal with those. They're going to hit me for 12 or whatever, or just live for multiple turns. And with Hir'eek, I think that can happen. Now, admittedly, this is an 8-mana card, not a 5-mana card like the Hunter Spellstone. So it's coming later. There might be less opportunity for that counter pressure to stick. But there are a lot of decks that just would not be able to answer this, right? And it's going to just overwhelm. I mean, even Dragon Caller Alana is something we've seen with that before, too, where sometimes Dragon Caller Alana just wins a game. You just drop a board of stuff, and the opponent can't deal with it, and you just do 30 damage next turn. And I feel like this is going to live in that space a little bit. Spreading Plague's not even that good of an answer to it if they're 5/5s, right? Because remember, this is not really a 1/1. You're not summoning 8. You're not summoning 7 1/1s. You're hoping this gets buffed. You're only playing this in a world where you Soul Infusion it and you Spirit of the Bat it or whatever it is. So Void Analyst won't work because Void Analyst is a it's only demons and this is a beast. But there are clearly still a lot of ways to buff this thing. So you're assuming this is 4/4s, 8/8s, and not 8/8s, 4/4s, 5/5s, 6/6s, maybe 8/8s. It's possible. And that's what makes it so scary. Now, clearly that takes some conditions to achieve. That's not going to happen automatically. But still, I think it is achievable. And that, to me, is what makes this card look pretty promising. So we're going to move through these next ones a little quicker because I'm going to run out of time if we don't. Next up, we have Surrender to Madness, 3-mana spell for Priest. It reads, destroy 3 of your mana crystals and give all minions in your deck +2/+2. And I don't even know what to make of this, guys. Now, obviously, destroying your mana is not something that's typically considered good in Hearthstone. You don't want to lose mana crystals. And my implication here, and maybe chat can confirm, I think this is confirming you lose your empty mana crystals too. So if you play this on turn 3, you would go back to 0 mana and have to start rebuilding your curve, right? Otherwise, that would just be costing 3 mana. So yeah, of course, that's what it means. So, this may not be the strongest turn 3 play. Like, restarting the game feels really punishing. And it might not, 1 mana versus, 4 mana is not that big of a difference. But 3 turns later when it's 3 mana versus 7 and 4 mana versus 8 or whatever the math is, that starts to feel like a pretty big delta, right? Your opponent's playing 8 mana stuff and you're playing 3 mana stuff. Even if it's buffed a little bit, +2/+2, I don't think that's going to make a big enough impact to outweigh the fact that your opponent is operating with so many more mana crystals. And especially because it takes a while to accrue these stats, right? You're giving the minions in your deck +2/+2. So you have to draw into those, and you have to spend mana playing them. Like, it's going to take a long, long time for a card like Surrender to Madness to actually impact the game in a positive way. And you're sacrificing so much tempo in the meantime that how is that ever going to work? Like, yeah, you could play this on turn 10 and maybe it wouldn't feel as bad, but I'm still not sure that's a super strong play. Uh-oh. Our friend Tim is back. Do you need help, Tim? Did we? backpack. I don't think I saw you with a backpack, to be honest. We might be able to review the stream, but I... Good luck. I'm Alright, guys. Our friend from Blizzard, Tim, is back. He, looking for something there, it seems. Okay, guys. So let's look at one more card. The Immortal Prelate. Is that how you say that word? Prelate? I think that's right, right? Prelate? Prelate? Prelate. It's Prelate, right? It's Prelate. When did you press enter accidentally? Did I press enter accidentally? What do you mean? What happened? I didn't see anything. Probably a pun I'm not understanding. Chad, I lost you. Where'd you go? There you are. So, Immortal Prelate, the 2-mana 1/3 for... Oh, yes, this is the King's Bane for Paladin. It has Death Rattle. Shuffle this into your deck. It keeps any enchantments. And I don't even know what to make of this. This seems challenging to work, right? It's how do you get it back out of your deck? Like, yeah, you put this in your deck and you get some cool stuff and you get a big guy, but then how do you get it back? How do you make it do anything? I feel like I don't know how I'd get it back. Now, we may need a mechanical question here. How does Crystology work with this card? Crystology, right, draws you 1 attack minions from your deck, but if you buff this thing with, say, Blessing of Kings and you make it a 5 attack minion, Crystology would no longer draw it, right? Witchwood Piper, that's a good idea. Call to Arms, okay, yeah, that's intriguing. And again, guys, thank you so much. I've not had time to think about this stuff, so you are helping immensely here. Yeah, so there are a couple ways to cheat it back out. Yeah, okay. I'm intrigued. It's still very susceptible to silence, as a lot of things in Paladin are, so I'm not sure that's necessarily something we can hold against it strictly, right? Like, we don't know. You know, if you got a lot of silence targets, a lot of buffs, there might be other things you might want to silence too. So, Crystology would not draw the card. Okay, that's what I thought too, but we just want to make sure. So, yeah, it's intriguing. It's intriguing. It's certainly got promise, but I'm not convinced it's going to make a deck right off the bat. And, for instance, does even Paladin run a Disquest Paladin? I don't know. We'll see. Maybe there's a new archetype. Up next, we have Void Contract, a new Warlock spell. 8 mana. Destroy half of each player's deck. And I don't even know what to make of that. Can you guys sort that out? Like, what does that mean? Is it good in a Fatigue Warlock, where you're just trying to rely on, like, Gul'dan's hero power, for instance, to outlast your opponent? Does Warlock have any ways to shuffle new cards into the deck? Like, I don't know. I don't think they do, right? There's no, like, academic espionage for Warlock. I mean, there's always stuff like Elise and Augmented Elite can allow you to do shenanigans. Mechathune or anti-combo, yeah, that's a good point. Mechathune getting your deck destroyed shuffles you a lot farther down the Mechathune chain. But to do that, you would have to get, you know, all of your combo pieces in hand first, which might be tough. It's the Thanos card. You're right, it is. It is Thanos, indeed. That's funny. We had Blood Mage Thanos. Now we have the Warlock Thanos card. It's perfect. Go Infinite with Elic and Banker. Yeah, there are possibilities there. Now, the thing about this card is, right, it is half. And first off, we don't know how that's going to round. I'm assuming it rounds up? I don't know. But it's going to get worse and worse over the course of a game, right? Presumably, like, if you play this on turn 5, it's destroying a ton of cards. If you play this when they only have 5 cards left in their deck, it's only destroying 2 or 3 cards, which probably isn't making nearly as big of an impact. But I like this idea of a disruptive anti-combo Warlock, like Gnome Feratu style stuff. That's something we've played and should be a lot of fun, so I'm very intrigued by this card, even if it's not necessarily good. And then up next, we have the Savage Striker for Druid. Cool troll riding a raptor here. It looks like 2 mana, 2/3, battle cry, deal damage to an enemy minion equal to your hero's attack. And for this one, you know, we've seen a card exactly like this with Merc Spark Eel that does 2 damage to a target, you know. And, well, this is just enemy minions. Merc Spark Eel, I guess, can hit anything. But regardless, with Savage Striker, it's going to be hard to get enough attack, I think, to make this good, right? Like, you know, if you play this with hero power, it's just pinging for 1, which not especially awesome. Regis, where are you right now? I'm at BlizzCon. Where are you, Gio? I'm at BlizzCon on the BlizzCon floor streaming. So, you know, you play this with Savage Roar, you get a 2 damage ping, but then, like, why are you playing a Savage Roar, right? Are you ending the game because you've played a Savage Roar? I don't know when this is being utilized, right, and why your hero has attack. Maybe with Malfurion, it's possible to get 3, but if you're already post turn 7, and then, like, is a 2 mana 2/3 gonna matter? on turn 7 plus, I don't know if it's going to make as big of an impact. Claw would be a good example of a low-cost spell that would enable it maybe, but beyond that, I just don't see it. I don't know. This seems awkward to me, unless there's like some new card that empowers your hero early with attack damage or something. It's possible, but to me this looks tough. Maybe what actually wouldn't be terrible is like an even druid. Even then though, you don't get the upgrade on the hero power, so it would still only be a 1 damage ping. Just looks like it's going to be a little awkward. Looks like it'll be tough. And then moving on, we have Springpaw, the 1-mana 1/1 beast here for Hunter with Rush, and it says Battlecry add a 1/1 links with Rush to your hand. And I think this card's sneaky good, and I think it's good for a couple reasons. One, it's just an early minion to play that can make an immediate impact, and that's often good. But when you combine this with Scavenging Hyena in particular, whoa, that seems insanely good, right? Like guaranteed instant kills for your early game Scavenging Hyena. Doesn't that seem powerful? We saw that in the past with like Alley Cat. They were just passively sitting there, and sometimes you just hope that they got to die. The cute cat, spam your cute cat emotes in chat if you can. If the cute cat died and you buffed your Scavenging Hyena, that could just like snowball out of control early. Springpaw like allows you to do that more predictably, I would argue. Now it does cost 2 mana to play both of these, presumably, right? We don't know about the other links, but I have to assume it's also a 1-mana 1/1. And that could be challenging. But also, implications for Quest Hunter with all these 1-drops and the immediate impact cards. What's that other card, like Toxmonger? What's the card that gives poisonous to 1-mana cards? That's something that could make this intriguing. So I think there's a couple different angles to play this in a minion-based Hunter build. Beast synergies, just cheap beasts can be good too for all those Houndmasters and kill commands and stuff. I like this card. I think this will find a home somewhere along the way. Toxmonger, yeah, exactly, perfect. We are so going to hate this card. Ooh, interesting. You think it's that bad, huh? That good, I should say, that good. So up next we have the Baited Arrow, guys. 5-mana spell for Hunter, and it deals 3 damage. It has Overkill. Remember we saw Overkill earlier on the Sul'Thraze. Overkill means if it does more damage than necessary to kill the minion, then you get an effect. And in this case, so if you hit a 2 damage minion or a 2 health minion or a 1 health minion, you would overkill them and you would also summon a 5/5. Now, to me, weirdly enough, I was talking to Ant and Racy, 2 professional players who both really liked this card. I'm not as convinced that it's that good. Like, yes, it has swing potential, much like Flanking Strike, right? You kill something and you get something. But it's a turn slower than Flanking Strike, which may not sound like a lot, but it really is, because turn 4 is where the 3 health stuff lives, because they play something on 3, it's got 3 health often. Turn 4, you line up perfectly against it. By turn 5, things tend to get a little bit more health at that point, right? They're playing 4-drops, they're playing Fungalmancers, and I don't think Baited Arrow lines up. Now, beyond that even, you don't kill 3 health things, you kill 2 health things. So it has to be like a leftover sort of, random minion that's just kind of hanging around. And that's not always going to be the case. Now, that said, you get a 5/5. 5/5 for 5, it's okay, but I don't think it's that exciting. Like Fungalmancer. Good point, actually. Yes, you could hit the Fungalmancer itself. That's true. That's true. But is that enough, I guess, right? Is a 5/5 enough? Is that impactful? Like, Hunter is already cheating out 5/5 so fast. And so consistently, I don't know. I don't feel like there's quite enough here. There's going to be turns, too, where it doesn't do anything, right? Turns where you just can't play it at all. Much like, well, you can always hit face with it, right? But, I mean, you don't get the 5/5 out of it. And if you don't get the 5/5, obviously, it was a Murloc. I don't know where it is, but there's some insane Murloc cosplay. Oh, there they are. They look unbelievable. And I think they have, like, Murloc recordings playing. So regardless, to me, this looks like it's not a swing card like Flanking Strike. It's not like a minion-based thing because it's too conditional, because sometimes you won't be able to summon a 5/5 and you're just sitting on a weird card. It's not great face damage. So, although, it does some things you like, I'm comparing it to Bane of Doom right now. It's like a consistent Bane of Doom. Think about it. Bane of Doom does 2 damage, and it summons a thing. And sometimes that thing is good, sometimes that thing is bad. This is like that. Deal 2 damage, because remember, you're trying to get the overkill, so it's really only 2 damage. And you get a 5/5. So instead of a random demon, you get a consistent beast. And I'm not sure that's good enough, right? I don't know that we'd be playing Bane of Doom if it always said summon a 5/5 demon. I don't think we would, right? But I don't know. 2 stars right now in my mind. 2 stars. I'm going to give all these stars in a second here if I have time. Up next, we have Reign of Toads for Shaman. Beautiful artwork. Incredible effect on board when it's played. We saw that teased. 6 mana spell. Summon 3 2/4 Toads with Taunt and Overload 3. So this is kind of a 9 mana spell if you look at it total cost-wise. Very hefty for 3 2/4s. Really, I would argue strictly worse maybe than just like Phantom Militia. Probably not strictly worse, but in a way worse than Phantom Militia because you don't have the flexibility of playing it earlier. And but it is, well, no, never mind. That's backwards. You do have the flexibility of playing it on turn 6, which is earlier, but you don't have the flexibility of playing like just 3 mana Phantom Militia, for instance. So in some ways more flexible, in other ways less flexible. But ultimately, turn 6 post, how impactful is it dropping 3 2/4 taunts? Is that enough? Plays super hard into things like Mossy Horror, which we already see. Like, this is a million times worse than Spreading Plague, I would say. A little better on an empty board, but just not as impactful as a defensive sort of card. And yes, Feral Spirit is far more efficient in my mind. It's impactful on turn 3, you get some bodies, and 2 Feral Spirits would be 4 minions as opposed to 3 with Reign of Toads. A little bit more overload, of course. So they don't line up exactly. But I don't know. I feel like this card's a little too punishing. Now, I will say the one case I could see for this card seeing some play is in an overload-based deck that's looking to stretch the game out pretty long. So, unlike Earth Elemental, which is a big, scary minion that's 5 mana with a big overload, this is more defensive, right? It doesn't have the potential to just overwhelm people like Earth Elemental. This is more about stalling out the game, slowing it down. So there's an overload deck that likes to play a slow style, wants to play into a control or some kind of combo aspect. This might be the sort of card that fits there, that just slows things down, provides a little speed bump for your opponent while you're setting up overload synergies. So if there is an overload deck that shows up, maybe this is one to keep an eye on. Otherwise, I'm not real confident. Now, moving on, we have the Pyromaniac for Mage, 3 mana 3/4. It's a great stat line. As you guys know, I love the 3 mana 3/4s. And Spider Tank build. It reads, whenever your hero power kills a minion, draw a card. Now, we know that Mage hero powers can kill minions. We've seen it time and time again with Frostlich Jaina. So I'm not too worried about this thing satisfying its condition. I know that does line up. The challenge for Pyromaniac, unlike Frostlich Jaina, right, is that hero power just always works. This guy has to be on board for that hero power to work. So it's not going to line up as cleanly, and it's not often going to provide value long term. But if it just draws 1 card, is that good? Pinging off something you want to ping off is already, you like doing that. That's a positive. And then it just adds another level of a positive to it. So you get a positive and a positive. You're not sacrificing anything. It's just a nice little bonus. So I feel like if you just drop this whenever it lines up and you get a card out of it and you get a decent 3 mana 3/4, even if you just play it on curve sometime and hope it sticks to turn 4 so you ping something, I think it looks good. It's not going to blow anybody's mind or just like completely revolutionize a deck. But I could certainly see some people fitting this in, just because the stats are great for vanilla stats and the effect is a good thing to have. So I think it's a reasonable looking card. Moving on here, we have Hex Lord Malacrass, an 8 mana 5/5 for Mage, the legendary champion for Mage. And this card's pretty crazy to think about. It says, Battle Cry, add a copy of your opening hand to your hand. And that's just insane. Like, so many different ways for that to impact a game. So the most obvious output for this card is just value and resource generation, right? Like, it's going to generate 3 to 4 cards just out of thin air. And even if they're not the ideal cards, they're some super combo card, they're just cards. And you like having cards if you're playing a slower deck. And for 8 mana with a body attached, that's probably something that's okay to do sometimes, right? Like, you just get cards that you like because they're in your deck. They're cards you know are good. And often that's going to line up nicely. It's just a value resource. But I think there's another angle here with this card where suddenly things that would otherwise be impossible become possible, right? There are, all of a sudden, you've got opportunities for crazy combos, additional burst damage, like just keep all the fireballs in your opening hand, and you play this, you get more fireballs, right? Or flame strikes, or whatever it is, right? Keleseth, any sort of card that makes a really big impact and might be hard to otherwise get. This could add consistency and add layers to that to make you do things that shouldn't be possible. And what's cool about that is that it makes you think about your mulligan in a totally different way, because suddenly cards you wouldn't want to keep suddenly make sense, right? Like, okay, I need Flame Strikes. This is going to be a game where I need a lot of removal. I'm going to keep Flame Strike in my opening hand when I otherwise wouldn't. Or I need tons of damage in this game, so I'm going to keep whatever. Or I need board, I need bodies. I'm going to keep extra minions. I'm going to keep that Lich King to make sure that I have a second Lich King. And that extra layer of strategy, I think, is really intriguing and adds some extra fun to the game and extra strategy to the game. I think it would copy the coin, yeah. I don't know if we know exactly mechanically how this is going to work, but as far as, like, does it happen after the first card draw or before the first card draw? I don't know. We'll learn, but regardless, I don't think that 1 or 2 card difference makes a huge change to its playability. Obviously, the more cards, the better, but nonetheless, I think it'll be good regardless, even on the low end there. And then finally, one last card, guys. I do only have, like, I think 4 or 5 minutes left. So last card is Canon Barrage for Rogue, a 6-mana spell, and it reads, deal 3 damage to a random enemy. Repeat this for each of your pirates. So if you had 7 pirates on board, this thing would do, what, 21 damage to random enemies. And this can go face. Remember, it is a random enemy, so if your opponent doesn't have any minions out, this could be a significant burst damage finisher, I think. If you have, 3 pirates, suddenly that's a 9 damage spell. It's almost like a Pyroblast. 24 damage? 7 times 3 is 21, right? You only have 7 minions on board. 7 times 3 is definitely 21. I don't know. Oh, it's repeated. Oh, I got you. Yes, so it is 24. Oh, okay, gotcha. So 24 total damage. Back to my thought, though. Like a 6-mana Pyroblast, is that a good finisher? Is that something that... Is that worth playing, or do you rather just have eviscerates and stuff, right? Like, because I'm assuming, right, you're playing this in a deck as a finisher. Otherwise, it's just a win more card that doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't think you'd use this as a swing card because you'd have to have the pirates out. I think it's probably going to be damage that you try to sneak to face. And even then, it won't always be possible, right? Because they're going to have taunts in the way or just little baby minions that get in the way. You can compare it to Bloodlust. You can, like an untargeted Bloodlust in a way. That's true. So part of me thinks this is a win more card, but also if it lines up, I don't know. It could be some sneaky big damage, but it's one of those things. It's 6 mana. That's pretty far in the game. If you're playing a really aggressive Pirate Rogue deck, you might need to have already won, and this might not essentially make a difference. I can't see all of the text on the card. Oh, my face is blocking it. Oh, I didn't realize that. Thank you, jerks. I had no idea. That's not normally where my cam lives. So I appreciate that. Thank you for the heads up. So it feels awkward to me. It feels like a worse Bloodlust, or just not the finisher maybe that we need, and a bit of a win more card. Yes, you can prep it, but I mean that's true of any spell. I don't know. Is it a swing card? I guess is the question. Can you play like 3 pirates and prep this and feel good about it? Yeah, I don't know. Probably not. My name is Callum, not Jerks. Oh, sorry, Callum. I don't know why I thought I saw Jerks. Am I going crazy? I literally just thought I saw the name Jerks. I must be going crazy. It's been a long day. Very, very long day. So, I don't know. This does not feel like the finisher that an aggressive Pirate Rogue would need. But fundamentally speaking, I don't suppose it's bad. I mean, obviously, if you can get 9, 10, 12 damage out of this thing, it starts to look good as either AoE removal or just raw face damage. So, I think it has a glimmer of hope, but probably not great overall. That said, let me give some quick star ratings on these. These are going to be garbage ratings because I have not had time to think about these. They're not going to make any sense. I'm going to look back and say these are stupid, but I'm going to know that I didn't have a real thought process. So Shirvallah the Tiger is a 3-star card. Sul'Thraze is a 3-star card. Sharkfin Fan is a 4-star card. Spirit of the Shark is a 3-star card. Spirit of the Bat is a 3-star card. Hir'eek the Bat. I'm actually gonna go on a wild tangent and give this thing 4 stars, guys. I think I'm gonna be unusual in that aspect, but I think I am. Surrendered Madness. I'm saying 1-star card. I just don't think this is gonna line up. No. I take it back. 2-star card. 2-star card. I take it back. 2-star. Because 2 stars fine. Immortal Prelate 2 stars. Void Contract 2 stars. Savage Striker 1 star. Springpaw 4 stars, Baited Arrow 2 stars, Reign of Toads 2 stars, Pyromaniac 4 stars, Hex Lord Malacrass 4 stars, and Canon Barrage. Yeah, I think 2. I don't want to give it 3. I think only 2 stars on the Canon Barrage. So, yeah, some good cards here. Not anything super crazy that I see yet. I think there's some potential for cards like Springpaw to be really strong. I think Malacrass could be something that gets seen a lot, but I don't think anything that's totally expansion changing or just blowing anybody's minds.